Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Comprehensive Guide to Gilgamesh. This is going to be the episode on, well, one of the episodes on Joust, since you can do a lot with Gilgamesh. Now, Gilgamesh, among a select group of mostly warriors and assassins with the occasional hunter, Gilgamesh is one of those very few gods that can be put into Joust and cover any one of the three primary roles, being tank, physical damage, or magic damage. Now, keep in mind that when I say tank, I mean someone fully dedicated to the role. Very often, as you're going to see with the enemy team composition here, which is something I'm assuming just based right off of this initial appearance, is that very often one of either the magic or the physical damage is going to splash in some form of protections, just to help keep themselves alive a little longer, spread the damage out from the enemy team a little bit more, and in fact this is kind of what I am assuming the enemy team is going to be doing here with Maui, because Maui is of course their only source of magic damage, so I am assuming just initially that he is going to be playing a sort of hybrid magic damage and semi-tank role, with Guan Yu going the role of full tank. This is my assumption at this point, because if they don't do this, logically speaking, I can effectively ignore magic protections if Maui doesn't build enough damage, and go full physical protections, which is a huge risk for any team comp to take in Joust. Alright, this is what I'm thinking right off the top of my head. Right now, obviously I'll be playing Tank Gilgamesh here, obviously, and that is going to very specifically be what I'll be looking at overall. So here we're just approaching, now I've started, just to really quickly kind of catch you up, because watching me pick out my items doesn't really mean much. Obviously, War Flag between myself and Ho Yi, we obviously have an auto-attack focus, and my starter item here is very specifically Berserker's Shield, because again, I am expecting that the Maui will be building a certain amount of magic damage, but early on he's not really going to be hitting that hard with magic damage, but when he does, the damage mitigation of 7% from Berserker's Shield is going to help me against Maui, right? I could have also built Sovereignty in this particular instance, but again, because I am assuming baseline right from the get-go that Maui is building at least some damage, or he will be building at least some damage, I want Berserker's Shield first. Okay, just to give me something against that before I can, because I obviously won't be building my magic protections until afterwards, and Joust is too short of a game mode for me to be building Gauntlet of Thebes. Now, this is actually something I really want to take a quick moment to talk about, because Hi-Rez has recently started working on this, much to their credit, but for several years, it's been a well-known problem that Hi-Rez has been balancing the game according to Conquest, which is fine overall. This year, they said that they wanted to make games a bit faster paced, a bit more aggressive, but they still wanted to leave a window of opportunity for teams that have fallen behind to make a comeback, right? That's fine. That, for the most part, mostly works in Conquest. I think they need to change their expectations of Conquest on how long that takes. The description of Conquest says it takes 25 minutes. Most of mine take 35 to 45 minutes, but that's unrelated right now. The point I'm trying to get at here is they have successfully made pretty much all game modes more aggressive due to the changes in the items very specifically. That was their focus there. As a result, you're going to see, as you can see here, this is a 12-minute match. I might actually talk about it for longer, obviously, but as you can see from the episode, this isn't a long match, and that is because the increased aggression from the items standpoint means that all the other modes have become more aggressive, and in most of these modes, because of the short duration of time that they tend to last, there is not really a big opportunity to come back from early game mistakes, and you're going to see that in this match. Now, again, to Hi-Rez's credit, they are starting to work on this, but they're going to have to, I think, eventually start adjusting items and create items for specific modes, where you're going to have Joust items, you're going to have Conquest items, you're going to have Arena items, you're going to have Universal items, right? I think that's eventually going to have to be the direction they will ultimately take it, and I think that would be the most useful direction, because right now their adjustments mode by mode are making adjustments to specific gods outside of Conquest. Aposh, for example, I believe has an 8% damage mitigation whenever he's not being played in Conquest, and that works to prevent Oposh from being overpowered in Joust specifically, but it also makes him too weak to play in other modes like Arena or Slash. He becomes incredibly difficult to use in those particular instances, even though it was only really in Joust specifically that he was such a problem in, but they didn't nerf him specifically for Joust. Right? So I think eventually they're just going to have to start coming out with items specific to each mode and then have a small roster of universal items, I think is where they're eventually going to have to go with this, because they already have the technology of limiting items based on the circumstance of what class you are, so it would just be one more step to restrict items to specific game modes as well. But anyways, the whole context of that is to explain why this match is so short and why it happens the way it does, okay? So I've got my Berserker's Shield getting ready. I've got my War Flag. Here's Amazon Cobb. Here's Maui. I'm out here to give myself some space. You know, the first item in Joust, the first fight in Joust is always about who's going to get that damage buff, right? We're fighting over the damage buff. Slash shares this particular attribute with Joust, is where very early on you have a team fight right off the top, where you don't necessarily have one even with Arena. In Arena, you go off to the sides and you take the jungle camps, right? This isn't the case in Joust or Slash. You immediately are getting into that team fight in the expectation that you will win and get the damage buff. So Maui actually initiates on me here, which is a good move on his part, but strangely, his team ignores this. In fact, Amazon Cobb only starts shooting at me after I'm free, right? Maui wasn't wrong there. Maui was not wrong. He was prepared. The Maui understands that this team fight is about the damage buff, but he initiates and his team does nothing with it. So I counter-initiate on Guan Yu, who clearly isn't paying attention, and off I go, and we start the team fight like that. Now I back off here because Taolu Assault is reducing my protections. I activate Shell, probably a little early. Maui's really trying to capitalize on me because he recognizes I'm the tank, right? And then he's going to pull in the Ho Yi. I stun them with a nice kick there. I take a lot of poke. Amazon Cobb is finally going after me. Now I have to make a decision here, and Amazon Cobb makes a mistake here, very specifically. But I understand why he does this. Now, Maui is going really hard on Ho Yi, and Guan Yu has chosen to join him here, right? And I recognize this as the support. Now what I'm going to do, my next move here, is to really quickly make sure that Amazon Cobb is distracted, to make sure he's not going to come over here and help out his allies over here, because that's, at this point, my chief concern, right? Because I can save Ho Yi here, but if Amazon Cobb pays attention, he can kill me in that attempt. So I have to so I double check really quickly to make sure Amazon Cobb is thoroughly distracted by Baron Samedi. Now, the reason why Amazon Cobb went after Baron Samedi is probably in an attempt to get Baron Samedi away from this fight to prevent him from potentially healing Ho Yi, right? Not necessarily a mistake. His logic is accurate here, but it's not his job to do this. Technically speaking, he should have been going after Ho Yi, and Guan Yu should have been trying to stop Baron Samedi from participating, right? It's just that because of their positioning at the time, Amazon Cobb just goes and does this, right? So I double check this here, and then I go in here, and I'm looking to scare them off. Guan Yu leaves, Maui commits, Ho Yi gets out. I'm basically just buying time for that jump, right? Now I gotta get out of here because Amazon Cobb is shooting me, but Maui overcommits. Now, you can actually see the moment where I was specifically wondering if he was going to do this, right? Because I jump in, Guan Yu is going back, Maui once again commits, so the Maui is very aggressive here, and he's indicating that for the third time. So I actually am like, okay, he's going to keep on pushing here, so let me turn around here and kick him under tower, right? Which succeeds. So we get our first kill here. This is just because the Maui is hyper-aggressive here. Again, not necessarily incorrect for him to be that aggressive. He is one of their frontliners, obviously. Not necessarily wrong. He just didn't realize the danger, basically. I don't know if this is because he might not be as familiar with Gilgamesh. Potentially, there's all kinds of reasons for this, but at the end of the day, he overcommitted and died for it. So we now have the advantage. We're going to press hard on this now because obviously it's 3v2. I'm going to go after Amazon Cobb specifically because he does not have an escape, which is also why Ho Yi goes after him here. We get him killed. I want to commit onto the Guan Yu. I try to kick him out. I take an unnecessary tower shot in my failure, Guan Yu actually does the correct thing and activates Tower to Assault just in time. I'm probably 1 or 2 seconds too late on that, as a guess. But either way, he activates it in time. Really great gameplay by Guan Yu there. I reinitiate because it's still 2v3, right? We still have the numbers advantage. Amazon Cobb is in here, so I'm looking to try to get some more poke down on Guan Yu. I mistimed that badly. That is entirely my fault. I just mistimed that. And Baron Samedi, you can actually see, saves me there with that heal. And now I'm backing off because, lo and behold, Amazon Cobb has just revealed himself to be crossing that bridge, right? The bridge over here on the mini-map. With this knowledge, there's 2 things that can happen. Hou-Yi is obviously trying to kill Maui. Guan Yu is backing, so he's not really concerned. Maui is potentially a kill here. And Amazon Cobb is floating around here somewhere. He could come out this side, in which case I then need to save... Well, I need to at least help Hou-Yi against Amazon Cobb, because we, again, still have that 3v2. Or Amazon Cobb's going to come out here and try to kill me back here using, I assume, my last known position based on minion vision. I'm going to come in here because I make a guess incorrectly. You can actually see Amazon Cobb come out right here, but I had guessed that Amazon Cobb was going to come out here. He doesn't. I help out with Maui here. I was going to kick him just to make sure that we got that kill. Amazon Cobb, of course, you can actually see Baron Samedi working on Amazon Cobb in the background. You can see him chase Amazon Cobb immediately here. You can see him chasing him here. You can see him doing, his heal on Amazon Cobb. Hou-Yi activates his newfound ult on Amazon Cobb. It's a glorious time, right? Now, again, we've just gotten 4 kills in a row, and this is mostly because of a strategic error by the enemy team. The individual actions of the enemy team are okay. Their reasoning isn't bad. The Amazon Cobb really shouldn't have come from behind us, in all honesty, but again, I think he was trying to kill me, and he assumed I was going to back up, and I didn't, so he kind of had that plan foiled by accident, because I incorrectly guessed he was going to go towards where Hou-Yi was going. I was wrong. He assumed I was going to back up. He was wrong. We were both wrong there, which is fine. The problem is that they keep initiating fights, or they keep extending the same fight of a 2v3. Once we killed Maui, it was pretty much a constant 3v2, with my team having the 3. And every time we killed one, the one that just died would come into the fight and basically just restore the 3v2 again. Right, that's basically what happened there, and it's going to be very difficult for them to come back from this. This is a really huge advantage. You can actually see where we're almost 2,000 gold ahead within 2 minutes, right? That is a huge lead for us. Now, I'm working on this blue buff because I can see where Guan Yu is. I'm assuming they're not going to be pressing me because we are very ahead at this point. I want to drop this for Amazon Cobb. I hit level 5. You can see my item activate over near the fire giant, so that's what I'm going to go get. Right, that is my immediate next move. This is a risk. If you're thinking, that's really ballsy, yeah, it is. It is. But we're fairly ahead, and I'm fairly comfortable with this at this point. I wind up getting physical protections. I help Baron Samedi with that, and I'm going to back, because obviously I don't want to enter that team fight with that low health. I upgrade both of these because it's the most cost-efficient way of getting quick, physical protections. And now I'm wondering, did I just make a mistake? Should I have built some form of magic protection first, right? That's what I'm kind of thinking about in my mind. I'm going to be checking really soon what Maui is specifically building. I check right here. You can see Maui is not really building damage. He's got Warrior's Axe, yes, but his first item is, I suspect, Gauntlet of Thebes. And if it is going to be Gauntlet of Thebes, it's going to take him too long to stack that up. It turns out it is Gauntlet of Thebes. I'm not sure at this point. I just suspect it is. Gauntlet of Thebes is overrated in Joust, very specifically. But that's kind of what I'm assuming it is based on that knowledge. So, okay. I can safely finish these 2 items and not have to worry about my magic protections because Maui isn't bringing magic damage to bear yet, right? And in fact, Maui has already been poked. So I'm going to go ahead and initiate and see what other poke I can get here. We get some good damage in here. Now, the interesting thing is that Baron Samedi makes this a fight, right? I'm just poking at this point, trying to, clear the wave. You can actually see, right beforehand, you can actually see where I was starting to attack the wave a little bit here, right? I'm going for the minions at this point, and then Baron Samedi ults and makes this an actual fight, so I throw my ult down to commit. And we're just, we kill Maui off. I'm trying to lock in Guan Yu. He dashes out. Hou-Yi overcommits. He does get Baron Samedi gets the kill, but he dies. A bit unfortunate, but I'm now trying to force out Amazon Cobb, trying to make this a team wipe. It succeeds. Now we get some nice tower damage down. And now I have to back up because there's Maui, obviously, and I'm going to die if I stay up here much longer. So I'm getting out of dodge, right? I'm just going to make sure that, at this point, I'm just making sure that Baron Samedi doesn't get dragged under tower. He's fine. I kind of want to initiate here. I really shouldn't be. But, you know, I grab the healing, and then I'm looking to back out of here because we don't have Hou Yi yet. I throw down a ward. I'm just, again, making sure that they don't jump Baron Samedi, because it would be a 2v1 then. Here's Hou Yi. Now we're back to a regular fight. I'm just looking for an opportunity here. Guan Yu is aware of that. He backs off. Hou Yi is, at this point, clearly eyeballing the damage camp. Maui initiates. Now, the reason why I haven't gone back yet is because, first off, I'm healing a decent amount of health. Second off, Maui has almost no mana at this point. So I'm pretty comfortable with potentially another team fight, given our level advantage at this particular point in time. It will be riskier than the previous fight, but it is something I could theoretically help pull off. Now he's going to commit pretty hard here. I'm going to kick him away. I'm going to get some poke. I'm not looking to commit very hard to this. Hou Yi backs up there. You know, I'm looking at him to just make sure that nothing happens to Baron Samedi, right? And you know, I'm just looking for, trying to figure out what the enemy's doing. Guan Yu commits here, and I'm in danger, but I don't quite realize it yet, right? And then I realize, oh, I've been stunned, and it's the Amazon Cobb ulting me was the kiss of death here, right? I knew that he hadn't used that yet, but I stayed. I didn't try running away from Guan Yu because I wasn't anticipating the Guan Yu to hit that hard. I wasn't anticipating him to go for me specifically. I should have guessed that, considering I was the lowest health person on the team, so I die. That is entirely because of basically my own hubris. But in the background, Hou Yi kills Maui, and unfortunately I don't fully capture all of that little fiasco there. Now Maui initiates on those two very specifically because he wants them to stay away from me and make sure that his allies get me as a kill, right? And he clearly dies in the background to Hou Yi's ult. They're gonna try to capitalize on the death of Maui. I'm gonna finish my Berserker's Shield here, right? They don't kill anyone else here, but that's fine. They do some good damage. And then they're, of course, going to use that win for the damage buff, obviously. And then at this particular point, you know, I respawn. I'm coming back in. I already know for a fact that Maui isn't likely to be building magic damage anytime soon. I double-check to see if he's finished Thebes. Doesn't look like he has, but he's still dead, of course, so I'm not 100% sure. But at this particular point, I'm looking to initiate on, like, Guan Yu. He backs up. I'm beginning to wonder if they have wards down. Maui ults for some reason. This is a free kill on Amazon Cobb because he's not paying attention. And Maui has, of course, very little to work with. I'm trying to get the Guan Yu killed here. Again, he dashes out. I shell to make sure I don't lose too much health, to make sure we can continue on the attack on the tower, right? That's why I shelled there, so I would take less damage from that tower shot. My allies here make an interesting decision. They go for the mana buff instead of the tower. Personally, the tower is the better choice. Mana buffs are temporary, but towers are forever. Really, I disagree with their decision here. This is about the only point during the match where I disagree with the decision my allies make during this whole match, is that decision to go after the mana buff. Hou Yi goes really aggro here, which is very high risk. He is very high level, though. He doesn't really get anything out of this. Hou Yi does successfully escape. I was willing... You'll actually notice that when Maui was charging up his pull, I actually was willing to body block for him, because obviously I have my finished Berserker's Shield. Not really a big risk. I had plenty of health. Drop the mana buff. I'm going for the experience buff to try to catch up to my allies. I'm clearly the lower level. Baron Samedi tells me to take the mana buff because he's got theirs, which is the smart decision. I was not... You know, some people like to refresh that. Some people don't. I don't by default take that, but I take it here because Baron Samedi told me to, and then I'm looking to get back into this fight because I'm in pretty good condition, right? I go ahead and I single out the Maui. We get some good damage in on him. That's great. And at this point, I'm just looking to initiate on something else, try to get something else happening here. We are very ahead at this point. We're 3,000 gold ahead almost. We're several levels ahead. You know, prevent him from pulling in the Hou Yi. Baron Samedi ults Guan Yu. Guan Yu ults in response. I'm now trying to get Baron Samedi out, and then it becomes after that ult trying to get Hou Yi out. So this is basically what I'm trying to do here at this point. You know, get the Guan Yu killed more. Personally, I was more trying to just get the Guan Yu to stop attacking Hou Yi. I kicked him in that direction so my allies could take advantage of that and do some more damage. They just outright kill him, that's fine. I'm committing on Maui really hard here. And there's the Baron Samedi heal, which is why I was comfortable doing that. I use my ult here. I'm trying to lock in the Amazon Cobb because he doesn't have an escape, obviously. We team wipe here. And again, we team wipe here because we have a gross advantage at this point because of the early fights. I don't know why Baron Samedi is tanking this. I think he was expecting that Archer to take it, but it didn't target the Archer for some reason. We definitely take this here, right? Just cleanly take that, get out of dodge. They're going to go for the damage buff, which is the correct decision here. We've obviously won. The Guan Yu is going to be defending the lane. We're quite ahead. We have the ability to do so, and if they attack us, we probably can come out on top at this particular point in time. You know, all three of them are coming, and now I'm going to back up, because now all three of them are back up. We wouldn't necessarily win that fight. We're all half dead. I grab Sovereignty, and at this point, I'm really looking for some magic protections, because I am assuming that Maui's next item is going to be some form of damage, right? That is my assumption here. And even if it isn't, even if his next item is not magic damage or some kind of damage boost, at the very least I can protect myself against the flat damage. Also, Shogun's Kusari is just really useful with this team comp anyways. So what I was originally checking here was to make sure that they weren't doing the Bull Demon King. They weren't. They initiate on me, which is the correct move here. I'm by myself and have no reason to be here, but they back off for some reason. Well, the Guan Yu backs off. They really shouldn't be. They should have pressed me here, right? They instead go for Hou Yi, who is separate from Baron Samedi for whatever reason. I'm not sure why Baron Samedi was so late to that scene, but, you know, I counter-initiate on Guan Yu. So now they're all going for that, right? And at this point, I want to press, right? Now, I don't want to go for the Bull Demon King here because they're all three alive and healthy. To go for the Bull Demon King at this particular point would be a risk that they could steal it very specifically. Now we get ulted. I shell in response to the Maui ult. I'm trying to get Guan Yu killed. I knew he had his dash down. I'm going to just go on ahead and poke the Phoenix a little bit. Amazon Cobb makes the correct choice. Shoots me with his ult. That was a good play. Forced me out very seriously. Maui is trying to protect the Phoenix. I whiff a kick, which is... if I had landed that kick, he would have died earlier. I wouldn't have even needed to have jumped in here. I'm actually overcommitting here. This is the height of arrogance. I back off because I realize that I'm not going to be able to succeed at that, and Hou Yi needs my help. You know, Baron Samedi slaps down a lot of that damage. I finish him off. Maui's trying to commit because at this point, obviously, Hou Yi's looking to leave. Hou Yi should have just left and abandoned me. I'm the front line. I'm not worth it, but he rejoins. We force them back, right? And we're just, you know, fighting... And we're not even really at this point looking to do anything more than try to poke out the Titan at this point, really. And I say poke out, I'm really just kind of war of attrition at this point, really. Right? We're waiting for minions. Baron Samedi's trying to get some of that, you know, damage on there. We back off because obviously we're not going to succeed at this right now. We don't have the resources. At this particular point, I'm looking for the experience camp, and then see you can actually see my confusion there. Right, we're retreating, right, we're getting out of dodge, because we need to go back and buy items and everything, and Hou Yi says ultimate is ready, and I realize here, he just says ultimate is ready, I realize he wants to ambush them here, right, why he assumes that they're going to be over here in the first place, I don't know, and Hou Yi also ambushes the Amazon Cobb, who wasn't at the intersection he was originally pointing out. Now, at this point, I'm trying to save Hou Yi, right? So I pursue the Amazon Cobb. Now, the reason I'm pursuing the Amazon Cobb here is because I'm such a high level that I actually do enough damage to scare him. Guan Yu actually falls for this bait. I want to scare off the Amazon Cobb and attract their attention away from my team towards me. And by threatening their damage dealer, because he's the only real damage dealer on their team right now, by threatening their damage dealer, I'm hoping to draw their attention. This works with Guan Yu. This does not work with Maui, who is single-mindedly focused on trying to kill Hou Yi, but of course is interrupted. Hou Yi turns that around and kills him because obviously Hou Yi is 4 levels higher than him, right? But, you know, my original intention was to lure both of the enemy front line away by pressing Amazon Cobb. When Hou Yi is safe, I go ahead and just deviate to Guan Yu because obviously Maui is no longer a threat. Great gameplay by the Baron Samedi. He's able to really do that because his ult is up, Amazon Cobb has no escape, and he is a massively higher level. He was 2 levels higher than Amazon Cobb at that point. And if we can just kill Guan Yu here, we actually win the game right here. Because we've got a fire minion wave coming in, kill off Guan Yu, and we just literally win right here. Alright, but this is a prime example of... Wait, do we actually win right here? Yeah. Yes, we do. We just are going to barrel through. We're going to ignore it. And then we know that Maui doesn't have his ult, so that's fine. I attacked Maui there very specifically to try to pull the Titan aggro. That is why I was attacking him. It does work after a little while once my allies leave the Titan's area of effect. That works. They kill off Maui for probably in an attempt to save me, but it's not really that important. Amazon Cobb comes up at too late, right? Now, I want to, before I get into item builds here, and talk about part of why that happened beyond just itemization and improving aggression, right? And you can see where they really didn't have an opportunity to turn that around. Again, in Conquest, which has a much longer time frame, they would have had an opportunity to turn that around, right? They would have absolutely had that opportunity. But in shorter game modes such as Joust, Joust being the most egregious example because, again, it is typically even shorter than Assault. I'm sorry, not Assault. Even shorter than Arena. With Arena, you have the 500 tickets, so Arenas are very, very cleanly locked into a 20 to 25 minute time frame. Pretty solidly, in most cases. Right, every once in a while you'll get a really fast match where one team is just hyper aggressive, gets an early lead and just maintains that lead, and that's a 15-minute or so match. But most of the time I'm looking at between 20 and 25 minutes for an arena. That's because of the 500 tickets. That takes a pretty specific general amount of time, which is a weird sentence to say, but you know what I mean. Because of the 500 tickets, there's kind of a specified amount of time that arenas generally take, but that isn't true for Joust. Once you kill the Titan, that's it, right? There's no tickets to wait around for. There's no minions you need to wait and kill for tickets. Killing enemy gods is a little bit easier because there's only 3 of them, right? So for Joust very specifically, it is almost impossible to come back from behind if you fall behind enough. And we had a 4-kill lead within 2 minutes, okay? That is huge. That is crippling in Joust, right? And part of the reason is because, you can see right here, Maui does not have any damage built, despite being the only form of magic damage on their team. There is nothing wrong with a 2-tank comp. In fact, it is often very successful, very, very effective in Joust. But you have to have somebody on the team doing very specifically magic damage, and Maui was not bringing that to bear. That is, in fact, a huge reason why me getting that Iron Mail there was so huge. Because Maui wasn't building any magic damage at all, I could really easily get away with my first 3 items, my second and third items just increasing physical protection. Of course, the third item was by happenstance, not by design, but it fit right into what I was planning on building anyways. I just would have switched up the Sovereignty and the Shogun's Kusari, right? But at the end of the day, it just became incredibly easy for me to just up and really layer on the physical protections because Maui wasn't hitting hard enough, right? If you're going to be going with a double tank comp, either have 2 warriors and a mage, or have a hybrid front line in the form of a guardian who splashes on some damage, and there are some guardians that can do that, some that can't. I'll discuss that in a future episode. But that's really how you have to approach this, but you need some form of magic damage to prevent this very thing from happening. So this is a combination of their unfortunate decision to just continuously come in one by one, and basically maintain a 3v2 rather than backing off. When they were at a 3v2, they just kept on coming in, right? You could see that in the first 5 minutes of the game. We got our first kill, we got our second kill, the first killed enemy came back in, restored the 3v2, the next person died, the previous death comes in, restores the 3v2, etc., 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 until eventually, yes, we won, right? Eventually. And that was a strategic decision on their part. That is very common for that to happen. Sometimes you just need to realize, hey, if I go in, this is a really bad situation, I need to back up, and I need to tell my allies to back up, right? We need to group up here. After the first 2 deaths, they really should have backed off completely. And to their credit, some of them did try it various times, and then someone else would come in to try to do something, and then they would have to re-enter. So it's not like they were just mindlessly going in. Some of them were trying to evac. Guan Yu is a really notable example of one of them that was trying to back out of this ugly situation and try to break this cycle that was going on, right? So generally speaking, you're going to have that, right? And again, we got such a huge lead that they were never going to recover. I will definitely be doing more Gilgamesh episodes in Joust. Do not think this is the only one, but this is kind of a very, very basic idea here of approaching Joust with Gilgamesh here and how to specifically deal with this kind of team comp a lot of the times, right? Because again, Maui's build here isn't atypical of a double tank comp, right? He wants to be that tankiness, and that's just not what they needed. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas, suggestions, or requests, please leave them down in the comment section below. And thank you all very much for joining me, and have a great 24 hours.